with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands.
Recording in progress.
Under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. You okay?
Nope.
Okay. All right. So let me call a few things up here. All right. So we would like to start with a motion to accept the regular meeting minutes from March 27th.
So move.
Mark, second. Jim? Okay. All in favor? Any comments or questions, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. Any abstentions?
Where'd it go?
I think we're all there. So at this point, I would like to, I know we're scheduled for a public comment, but I would like to go into the public hearing and then we'll do public comment afterwards. So I'll have a motion for the public hearing on the proposed budget. To open a public meeting for the proposed budget. Jim, second. Mark, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Public meeting is open. Crystal, did you want to say anything on the?
There are no, there's no changes as of the
last time we, okay.
the last meeting. But I would like to, after the public hearing, wait to adopt it until the end of the month.
Okay.
Just in case there's anything that we're missing.
Okay.
Or any extenuating circumstances.
Okay. So for the board, we need to approve it before May 1st. And so does the public have any questions or comments? Copies were available at the village through Crystal.
And I have it.
Okay, and they were online. Okay, so
I have a question. Is it balanced at this point? 2% cap?
Is it balanced at the 2% cap?
Well, we still have the just over 2,000 that we're trying to appropriate, but yes, other than that, it is balanced.
So as of the last time we had $2,000, we were over the 2% cap. So if we can't, since we haven't been able to find it, it's most likely that we'll appropriate that $2,000 unless something changes and we'll present it to the board the next meeting. Okay, so at this point then, I would like to close the public meeting. May I have a motion? Okay, Cindy and Jim, meeting is closed. Now I'd like to open it up for public comment. Okay, seeing no public comment, we will close the public comment. This is the organizational meeting, so there's a lot of information that gets discussed very quickly. Let me start with the organizational items. So newly elected officers are Mark Donaker and Jim Rumsey for the position of trustee and myself as mayor. So congratulations for that. I would like to appoint Mark Donaker again to serve as deputy mayor. Still good with that, Mark? Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Then there are a number of appointments that are made by myself with your approval. So I'd like to go through those. We are reappointing the clerk. I would like to reappoint the clerk treasurer, Crystal O'Brien, and deputy clerk treasurer, Tracy Marshall, for a 2-year period of time. I'd like to appoint superintendent of public works, Roger Blanchard, for a 1-year term ending April 2024. Rick Rumsey as the code enforcement officer and land use officer. I'd like to reappoint Charlie Asher for a term that expires 2028. And I would like to appoint David Griffith to fill the vacancy in the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term to expire in 2025. The Registrar of Statistics is still in place, as well as the Deputy Registrar of Vital Statistics. For those who are not familiar with David Griffith, he's been a full-time resident for the last 18 years. He is an engineer, a degree in engineering, ran a power plant down in New Jersey, and was also responsible for operations and environmental licensing. So I was well versed with the EPA and things like that. So I think he will make a really great addition to that team. Are there any questions or comments about the appointments?
No.
Okay. Moving on, I would like to propose that the committees remain the same unless someone has a suggestion for a change. So with Sewer and Water, that would be Mark Doniker and Jim Rumsey. Streets and Highway, Mark Doniker and Rebecca Smith. Parks and Playground, Jim Rumsey and Rebecca Smith. Finance and Office would be Jeanette Barrett and Cindy Rumsey, and the Fire Commissioner, Cindy Rumsey. We would designate the official newspaper as the Hamilton County Express, set regular meeting night, time, and place to remain on the second and fourth Monday of each month, unless such dates as fall on a holiday, and then they're held the following day. They commence at 7 at the Village Hall, and also to adopt the rules of procedure for the meetings. And there were no modifications this year. And with resolutions, authorize payment prior to audit of claims for public utility service, postage, and freight as provided by New York State law. The clerk, treasurer, mayor, or deputy as the signatories and all check funds, and there's a double signature required. That includes the safe deposit box and official bank and depository. And MBT is the bank and depository. Adopting resolution to adopt the list of water and sewer customers as the basis of computing fees for 2023 and 2024, the fiscal year. Number 4 is attendance at schools and conferences, whereas there is the New York State Conference of Mayors meeting held in May. There's a legislative meeting held in February, and a training school for municipal clerks and finance officers, that's conducted by NICOM. So where it is determined by the board that attendance by certain municipal officials and employees at one or more of these meetings or conferences benefits the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the following officers are hereby authorized to attend the following conference in school. The mayor or her designee to attend the annual meeting of NICOM held in May or June, or the legislative meeting held in February, and then the clerk treasurer to attend the annual fall training school sponsored by NICOM and the New York State Office of the State Comptroller. The expenses and incidental to these conferences will be paid by the Village of Speculator, including mileage, room board, and registration fees. I would like to propose, and perhaps we can expand the resolution next time, I would like to expand the mandatory training for our code enforcement officer, that be included by, you're going to say something? Oh, that would be included by order of resolution, so he doesn't have to come again and ask for permission. And then the other one is New York State Rural Water to be attended by Ed Sharpo. Does anyone have any comments or questions about that? Okay, so I will add those 2 in. And then the mileage reimbursement in lieu of auditing and allowing a claim for actual and necessary expenses for automobiles is now.
Boarding in progress now. Boarding in progress now. Boarding in progress now.
I didn't do that. No, I think I did. No, I think I did. Everybody get on mute. Okay, good. So, and then the IRS per mileage has gone up from 58 cents a mile to 65.5 cents a mile, which is huge. And then the last point is to approve that resolution, approve the procurement policy, which I think is still pretty good, and then set the next organizational meeting on April 8th at 7 p.m. in the year 2024, Lord willing. So may I have a motion to approve the organizational items and appointments? Rebecca, second. Jim, any comments, questions? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Okay, and I'm just checking to make sure all the designations are included.
That's with the CEO and Ed's extra,
Yes, those would be added in.
even
Right.
though it's not.
Even though it's not written there now. Correct. But we would add those in. Yep. So we have all that covered. So there ends our organizational meeting. Thank you very much for an efficient time. Now I would like to go to Ed Charpeau, our chief operator, for the water wastewater report. And Crystal, am I able to share? Oh, look at that. There we go. All righty. Ed, take it away.
Alrighty. For the water department, our monthly report's been sent out. DOH has came and collected our SOCs, secondary inorganic chemicals. She also took a bacteriological sample at the same time. Operations, we have found a leak at 2765 State Route 8. We'll be repairing this tomorrow. Our annual calibrations have been completed. Customer water requests have begun to come in, checking chlorine throughout the system, and we're scheduled to do hydrant maintenance and flushing May 1st to the 12th. I've added a week to this because in the past we've ran out of time for the last couple of years. There's just always been something going on.
Ed, I know
Yes.
that when we went through with the risk assessor who had come, he asked us to change our sign-in for water on and off. Has that been updated for use?
No, it has not. I didn't know I was in control of that. I thought you guys had that handled.
No, I'm just, we were comparing what was in the request. Okay.
Yeah, I think the only thing that we didn't have, there was only one thing that you and I talked about that needed to be added. It was minimal. I don't remember what it was though.
Okay, let's make sure we take care of that. Thank you.
Okay. I'll hang flyers in the village, the bank. I'll hand them to the schools and all the businesses. The Lane Emporium, anywhere I can hang them, I'll hang them so people know. We're doing it a little earlier than we have in the past because we had some complaints last year, which hopefully will resolve the problem, but I don't think it will.
We do our best.
Yep. Expenditures, we have Ferguson Waterworks. I purchased, we ran into a problem at the library, or at the health center. Obviously, we had that small break in the beginning of winter. They've never used full saddle wraps, or at least we didn't have any in stock. So I now have an 8 and a 6 inch on order with adapters to go from 1 inch or 3/4 inch services.
Okay.
I had funds left at the end of the year to buy stuff like that, so I purchased a few things. FEMA water crossing, at this time we're just waiting to have another meeting with FEMA to determine if the funds can be used for the other side of the river instead of replacing the existing line. At this time it doesn't look good, but we're trying.
So at this point, we do have a request into FEMA about a scope of work change. So it's not done yet. They're going to have another internal meeting request because it really is in the village's best interest to close the loop and provide that crossing rather than create a new one that's not looped in, and the costs are approximately the same. So we'll try.
I did get an updated price today, actually.
Okay, and what is
it's just through an email, so just.
Yep.
Am I sharing this screen too? Because I don't really want to share this.
You don't have to. No, you're not sharing the screen, but you can if you want.
Oh, what just happened? I'll get that to you, and I'll just keep going on with this.
Okay.
It was like $105,000 to do the other side, and that was with HDPE pipe and not using the pipe that we already have. For some reason, I was told in the email that it wasn't that much cheaper to just use our own pipe. So I'm not sure why, but I have to find out more on that.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to move on to the wastewater administration. Our February report's been completed. I've completed our hauler's permit, the 2022 flow certification, our annual water withdrawal report, and our land application report. They've all been submitted. Still checking pump stations bi-weekly. We have pump station 3 in the works to be... hold on here. Okay. Pump station 3. I've contacted W2O. They have received the pump, but obviously the pump station at pump station 5 is still buried in snow. They're supposed to work on that along with replacing the pump in pump station 3. Because of the snow, I've had them hold off, but I did ask them to send the bill for the pump and send the pump so we can get it paid out of this year's budget. I have not received that yet. Our annual calibrations have also been completed at the wastewater plant. And then pump station 4, we're having a problem with that started last week. Pump number 2 has been running extended periods of time. Based on the run, when I was watching it, it looks like the pitless adapter or seals failed down on the bottom of the tank. So basically it's blowing by and not all being pumped into the system like it should be. So at this time, that pump is down. It still works, but I have it off to reduce energy costs because it's just gonna keep running. And then as for schooling, Lenny's passed all of his courses that we've paid for, and he sent in the paperwork for renewal. As been stated before, I'm attending the New York State Rural Water Conference, May 22nd to 24th. JR has been scheduled for basic ops from November 6th to November 17th. We did cancel his registration for activated sludge in June because they recommend basic ops prior to activated sludge. We tried to move his basic ops to May, but he's going to be his wife's having the baby on the night, so we don't want to get too close there and then have to have him leave. So once Morrisville has scheduled the January and February courses, which they are aware of, we'll get him scheduled for the activated sludge then. So he'll take basic ops first and then activated sludge. The upgrade project, the same as before, it's 99% complete. We're just waiting for both tanks to be online so we can review everything and see how everything functions. And then the other projects that we had going on, the FEMA project for Pump Station 2, that bid's been accepted, and the work is tentatively scheduled for the fall, from what I've been told. Our disinfection grant, the engineering report has been completed and sent into DEC. As we know, we are still awaiting funding for that project. And then the generator grant we did not receive. We finally got an answer on that. At this time, we're trying to get 3 new quotes. Brendan's going to be working on that, and also he's looking into state contract to see if there's anything that can be done along those lines.
Right.
And as we all know, that project, we were hoping to be funded through a grant. The only way we can fund it through a grant is if we add this on to our EFC project that we have ongoing and that we've kept open. We'll receive grant money and then either loan it through EFC or pay it out of our fund balance.
Right.
For the whatever's remaining. I'm not sure if you have to take that grant, if you take grant money for the generator, if you have to fund it through EFC.
We would.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay, so we would have to fund it through EFC.
Yes.
But it does look like a lot of our fund balance is going to be eaten up by Pump Station 2 because the bids came in higher than we originally anticipated.
Okay.
So that is it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
No? All right.
Thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Ed. I think that looks, it looks good. Okay. Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
good
Ed.
night.
Oh, all right. Have a good night.
Let me see. So, clerk treasurer's report.
Just a reminder, I'll be out of the office from tomorrow, April 11th through the 19th. Tracy will be in the office daily from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. All quarterly reports have been filed for the first quarter of 2023. This includes IRS, New York State, workers' comp, and disability. The tax cap filing has been completed for the OSC as well as the pre-budget adoption constitutional tax limit filing. The fire department has completed their posting period for the 2022 fire department posting certification form. This was for the LoSAP. And the mayor has signed the sponsorship authorization form. This is the last, or those two steps are the last steps to completing the 2022 data package for submission to Penflex for the 2022 year. All documents will be copied to our files and then sent to Penflex this coming week. The flooring they'll start the flooring replacement on April 25th. Financial report number 10 is ready for review, and then abstract.
Great. Okay. Any comments, questions for Crystal? No.
Great vacation.
Yes, have a very good vacation. So I would like a motion to approve abstract number 20.
So moved.
Okay, Mark and Jim, second. Any comments or questions on the abstract? I did note that there was 2 cases of hammers that were ordered. Those are not actual hammers as we know them to be from shop class. Those are actually a type of lubricant, solvent sort of thing to get off rusted parts. So there you have it. I learned something new today. Okay, so all in favor of approving the abstract, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? Cindy? Cindy? Have we lost her?
We lost her.
She keeps coming in and out.
Okay, Cindy abstains. All right, thank you for that. Short-term rental update from Trustee Smith.
Yep, I just want to pass along information that the town of Lake Pleasant has decided to move forward with a registration and a fee of $50. And they'll be making up their posters, and they want us to make up our own posters for flyers if we decide we want to distribute them.
Oh, to keep them separate.
Well, they felt they would keep it separate because they're going to be collecting money.
Okay.
And keeping a list of the permit, whereas we seem to take more from the states to decide what they're going to do.
Okay. All right.
The board wants to do something different now, and that's their decision.
Yeah. So, what are they doing additionally in terms of their law? They're still going to inspect everyone and make sure.
They put a clause in that if they receive a complaint, they reserve the right to inspect. So they're not going to inspect everyone. They will have them fill out that one little sheet we looked at. You can have fire extinguishers, the occupancies, contact person, that kind of thing.
Okay. Yes, Jim.
Doesn't the town regulations also apply to the village?
I think in this case they would not.
Why not?
Because we would opt to do it well, first of all, I don't think that the town should regulate village short-term rentals. Because that means their code enforcement officer would have to come and do inspections and things like that, and we have our own manner of codes and the like. Second of all, as the law was originally proposed, we checked with our attorney, and based on the fact that you're asking for all these different things and not necessarily checking or validating, you would open yourself up for liability if there were issues surrounding that. And then it also comes down to the civil complaints that come in, regarding, hey, someone's on my beach, someone's on my parking, they have too many people, those sorts of things. So with the state, the proposal that's on the board, the nice thing about the state is that we are able to get listings of all short-term rentals within the village. It does not preclude us from inspecting an aberrant short-term rental occupant. It does not preclude us from enforcing any of our land use codes and things like that. What is nice about the state is that if there are violations and if there are things that the short-term rental has issues with not filing and being out of regulations, what they do is they go through the Airbnb, VRBO, Adirondack by owner, those sorts of things, and they block the promotion of the premises, which is something that we couldn't do. And in a town, you not only have the responsibilities then through collecting a fee and a registration process, then it's up to you to do all that reporting to the state.
So the town is taking an avenue
to make their own law. Right. And at the present, so this doesn't preclude us from not doing it. So if we find that, something has gone horribly wrong, or, something changes in the mix over time, or the state isn't working out or something, we can still take matters into our own hands as necessary. But I think that giving the state a chance and giving our own short-term rentals to do the right thing is a good approach. Okay, thank you. So let's put up some flyers. Okay, septic systems and erosions. I think once April passes, we'll get back onto the septic and erosion system to see how that has been working over in Lake George. And then we are at the stage in our review of the general codes where we can share that database with our lawyers to make sure that we can confirm or identify what areas of responsibilities are in competition with each other or overlap between the planning board and the ZBA, so that we can make a concerted effort to merge those two boards together. And now that we have 7 people in combination on those boards, it'll be 5-member ZBA with 2 alternates. So I think that will keep us going for a while. And people are who are on the boards are very supportive of that as well. Okay, any questions or comments on old business? Okay, hearing none, we'll go on to energy program. So I would like to introduce Nancy Bernstein, who's on the program. Will we be able to have her share her screen?
Yeah.
Oh, anybody can do it. Okay, all right. So Nancy will do that. She is the energy circuit rider with ANCA, and for those of you who don't know, ANCA is an independent, not-for-profit corporation, and they help build strategies for food systems, energy, and small businesses. So Nancy has come to us before, very instrumental in helping us get our lights and a nice rebate for that. So Nancy, welcome back.
Thank you, Jeanette. And for some reason, my camera was on earlier.
Yeah.
But it just Zoom decided that it doesn't want to.
Doesn't want to
on again. So, Bob, my apologies for not turning it back on. Thank you for inviting me to speak. I'll try to keep things as brief as possible since I know you've got a long meeting and nobody wants to stay all night long. As Jeanette mentioned, that we've been working together to progress the village through some clean energy actions, including the LED streetlights. And as this is all part of NYSERDA's program called Clean Energy Communities Program. And that's the program that I work under, and how I can come to help the village, take these actions and provide information and so forth. So this program, the Clean Energy Communities Program, also sometimes we refer it as CEC, in case I let that slip out. I don't want to confuse anybody, but it's a program that NYSERDA designed to encourage, assist, and reward municipalities to take clean energy actions. For example, by completing any of the 4 high-impact actions that NYSERDA has on its list, that will qualify the village to become clean energy communities, a clean energy community designated as one, and also to receive a $5,000 match-free grant. That's the carrot, the reward for taking these actions. Each of the actions has benefits in and of itself, like as you discovered with the LED streetlights. There's, as you convert your streetlights to LED, you save money on your bills, and and you save energy, of course. But so as I said, each of these actions has a benefit in and of itself. But then when you kind of put them together and do multiple actions, then NYSERDA rewards you with these match-free grants. So the designation grant, the $5,000, is kind of your first entry grant. As you do more actions, the village will earn points, which gets you closer to earning these larger points-based grants. They can range from, the first one is $10,000, and if you get all the way up to 5,000 points, then you'll accumulate as much as $100,000 in grants. So it can be good encouragement. Although I will say for smaller communities, getting to the $100,000 grant is a little bit harder. Speculator has completed 2 high impact actions already. One was converting the Cobra Head streetlights to LED last year, or maybe it was the year before, I'm not sure. And then your code officer attended the energy code enforcement training that NYSERDA puts on, and that was just last month in Syracuse. So those are 2 actions already kind of completed and done. And the village is also working on converting its decorative streetlights to LED, so that's kind of in the works. And then Jeanette and I were talking about other actions that the village might take to both get to that, where you can get a grant, but also, what might be good for the village to be taking regardless. And I believe, Jeanette, we talked about adopting the New York State Unified Solar Permit, and I think you were working on...
We have done that.
Oh, you've already done it. Okay, well, then we need to just submit that information, and we'll get that. That'll be 3 impact actions, high impact actions.
Yeah, I thought that I had sent that to you, but I'll double check.
Oh, I get confused. Maybe you did, but we'll get. I need to. We need to submit the things that I don't believe we've done yet. So we'll work on it. That's wonderful. And another kind of easy to complete action is to adopt a benchmarking policy, and so that's one of the things I wanted to mention tonight. Benchmarking is just the annual tracking and reporting of energy used in municipal buildings. Typically, it's municipal buildings that are over 1,000 square feet and that are used or heated, in the winter, are the ones that NYSERDA requires you to benchmark. So based on what I received from Crystal earlier today, it appears that the village is actually already tracking energy usage, but on Excel. Yeah, but you're doing it on Excel spreadsheets. NYSERDA requires we use a website it's an EPA website called Portfolio Manager for our benchmarking. And if the board, is interested in adopting this benchmarking policy, and I can send Jeanette a sample policy to.
Actually, I distributed a copy of that to the board, and I did note that there was a law option to either make it a law or just keep it as a resolution. So it's my inclination to keep it as a resolution. And okay. As such, we wouldn't need all the definitions included in the benchmarking, correct?
I don't know.
I think it's both a law and resolution. No?
Okay.
Just a resolution.
I'd have to, if you want to remove some of the things from that sample resolution, that I just would have to make sure that NYSERDA would accept it, which may. But that most municipalities I've I've worked with. I don't know if anybody has adopted it as a law. I think it's all just done as a simple board resolution. So there's no, it's not required to do anything too official that way. But after you do that, I can easily set up the building profiles in Portfolio Manager on the village's behalf, and then upload all the data that Crystal provided. So that's really makes it a pretty easy task. The nice thing about using Portfolio Manager is the site automatically converts everything to greenhouse gas emissions and all kinds of things that can be useful later on, right? That the spreadsheets don't do by themselves. So, and one of the requirements that the board resolution, has written into it is not only tracking the energy use, but reporting it to the public and letting your taxpayers know where the money is going and so forth. So the Portfolio Manager website will also generate reports that I can then send. I can do that part and send it to you to post it on the village's website. So that's that'd be a pretty easy lift based on the fact that Crystal already has accumulated all that data in one place.
So I do have a quick question on that resolution, though. It refers to a commissioner. A commissioner may exempt a particular covered municipal building.
Right. That is something that you can adapt. I think this is a resolution that is used by much larger, municipalities that might have departments and everything. So you can adapt the language to fit.
We'll do that. Okay. I was wondering whether we were missing something there. And
you have to hire a commissioner. That's right.
No. And then this is an agreement between us, and this basically becomes an agreement between us and NYSERDA.
It's not really an agreement. Well, yes, I should say it's an agreement to benchmark the buildings, and it's I think it's more an agreement to your taxpayers, to your constituents that you will benchmark the building, that you'll make it public, as well, track the energy usage and then make that information public.
And this is the records would only be held for 3 years, and then they would.
Well, it's up to you. NYSERDA really, to count as one of the actions for the Clean Energy Communities program, you just need to pass the resolution.
Okay.
If there's I will, work with you to put everything up on, and to actually follow through with it. And if you do that, and we also kind of document that we've done that with NYSERDA, then you get another action. Actually, you could get 2 actions from benchmarking. One is just passing the resolution. The other is actually completing the action and showing NYSERDA that you've done so. But there's an advantage to benchmarking besides, just being transparent. By looking at the energy used in your buildings, you can see where there might be places to make savings, to do some energy efficiency work. You can also see and track when you have made changes, like when you convert to LED, the lighting in the buildings, or you put in a new furnace, or whatever it might be. You can actually track and see the changes that are happening based on the energy use, not just the cost, because of course costs change, right? Whether the cost of fuel oil changing and electricity and so forth. So it has a benefit to itself in just to tracking, how you're using energy in within the village.
Okay.
Within the village buildings, I should say, not the whole village.
Yep.
Reports generated?
And so,
Yearly?
How often are the reports generated?
we can generate them as often as you want, but generally annually, is typical for putting it up on your website.
Okay. Good.
Okay, so that's benchmarking. And I should just say, if the village does manage to complete 4 actions, which I'm pretty sure that you will make that at this point, if you already got 3 done, then you'll receive that first Clean Energy Communities grant. And I will say that these grants must be spent on another clean energy project somewhere in the village. You can do lots of things. I sent Jeanette a list. I did send that to you, right, Jeanette? I can't
I think
remember.
you sent it to me a long time ago.
Okay, I'll send you a list of, there's not like a list to choose from of projects. It's more a list of possible what other communities have done with their money. It's really a pretty open book. You can use it to, put it into LED lighting. You could use it to, Jeanette, you mentioned something about the basketball courts and maybe doing some lighting there. But they sort of just wants to see that whatever use you use for the money, that it contributes to the reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. There's no recording how much it's reducing it. They just want to know that it's something that will do that, and then they just write the check and you're all set. Okay. So that's kind of handy. And another action that Jeanette and I talked about through the Clean Energy Communities program is called Clean Energy Upgrades, and that for this action we need to document that the village has contributed to a 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by making energy efficiency or renewable energy upgrades to your buildings. I know that Jeanette said all the LED lighting, interior lighting has already been converted to LED. So that's the kind of way that you can document that action and get credit for it. Another way to make certain that you're going to reach that 10% threshold is to subscribe the village's municipal accounts to community solar. And so I thought I'd just take a couple minutes to describe what community solar is, because if you did that action, then you'd certainly reach the 10% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. So community solar, it's unlike traditional solar, which is where an array is installed on a roof or on a property somewhere. Community solar is installed at an off-site location. The community solar arrays are typically 5 kilowatts or less, so they're considered community size. They're smaller, but it doesn't have to be located in Speculator. It just has to be located anywhere in the same utility territory, which is National Grid. They have, they're all over New York State. So as long as this community solar array is located in National Grid, anybody in Speculator can subscribe to it. Building owners subscribe to the community solar project, and you instead of receiving money for the electricity that's generated, you receive credits on your own electric bills that represents the clean energy that's produced from the solar array. So it's very much like having solar on your own roof, except that someone else owns the array, and the array is located somewhere else, off-site. National Grid remains your electricity supplier and maintains your lines, but you'll receive credits on your monthly bill based on how much energy is generated by the solar array, the community solar array. And often you'll build up more credits during summer months that are rolled over into the next month, into the fall and sometimes into the winter, depending on how much it's set up. So that's how community solar works. You basically can go solar without installing solar panels on your own property. There's little to no upfront costs. You generally save money from having these community solar subscriptions. It can be typically 5 to 10% off your bill. You lower your carbon footprint, of course, and you support the local economy by supporting these small community scale level solar arrays. That, like I said, they don't necessarily have to be in Speculator, but it could be in Speculator if you had that kind of site. And they have minimal commitment. There's typically no sign-up fees, no cancellation fees if you want to get out of it. So it's different than these ESCOs that sometimes are predatory and come around and charge you. They start off very low and they build up. This is actually a very, very different than an ESCO, because you're not actually purchasing the electricity from them. You're purchasing the credits. You're supporting the community solar, and then you're receiving credits on your bill. So any questions? If I didn't explain things well, any questions so far?
You have a question, Jim?
Will community solar come and do any solar for us here?
No, we wouldn't have to have an array set up here. My preference is to have an array set up in Florida so that we would get winter credits, but it's actually within New York State. So, it wouldn't necessarily be the one that we see down in Johnstown or something like that, but National Grid has them in communities that we would be a part of. And I believe, I was talking to Matt O'Brien about that. They've signed up with a community solar through National Grid that has benefited them in their energy prices. No, at the mountain.
At the mountain.
At the mountain. The village takes care. Right.
So will we sign the fire department for it?
Yeah.
Well, we would sign all of our accounts.
Yeah, we would sign all of our accounts to that. So Nancy, I do have a question. Does that make it easier for anyone in the community to sign on, or is that an individual basis?
Well, that's a good segue into what I wanted to mention. There are different ways that the village, a speculator, could support community-based solar. One is through just subscribing your own municipal accounts, and that's a great first step. You can also, the village can host a community campaign, which is another one of these clean energy communities actions. It's a nice action in that if you complete it, you actually get a grant just for itself, right? So just for having done the campaign. So typically in a community campaign for community solar, the village would work with a community solar provider that would encourage residents to subscribe, save the money on their bills, support renewable energy, all those good things. They would do the work to subscribe everybody, but the village would endorse them, would say, we believe in community solar. Look, we've already signed our own municipal accounts up to it. We think it's a good thing. We think you should think about it, and consider it. That would be an opt-in basis, right? Because every individual would have to opt in to subscribing. If 10 residents is the threshold that NYSERDA requires, if 10 residents or small business owners, it doesn't, not just residential, participate in the campaign, so sign up for community solar, then the village would get points towards that points-based grant, but you'd also get a $5,000 action grant, which, like I said, would be in addition to the $5,000 designation grant from completing 4 actions. So I've had several communities do both get the designation grant and the $5,000 action grant, and they ended up with $10,000 that they put towards something, in your community, which is nice. That starts to be some worthwhile money.
So wait a second. If we designate community solar for our municipal accounts, we would get a $5,000 grant, and then if we hosted a community campaign, we would get another $5,000 grant. The village would be the first $5,000 grant would be just from completing 4 actions. Oh, okay.
So you're going to get that in some combination of actions that we mentioned. Whether it's, I guess, the solar permit, we'll get that one documented, and then if you do the benchmarking policy, or if you subscribe to community solar, that would get us the clean energy upgrades action. So there'll be one action, or the decorative street lights. If we get that completed, that's another action. So you've had a few actions that will get you the 4.
Right.
Then you'll build towards points towards the larger actions.
Okay.
But the community campaign for promoting community solar, or it can actually be community hydro as well. That is in and of itself, that action, by completing it, getting the 10 participants, that will get you another $5,000 grant, a second $5,000 grant.
Where is hydro power available?
There's a company up here near Saranac Lake where I live called Northern Power and Light, and they work with small hydro facilities around the North Country, and they sell the credits the same way that the community solar array does. So they have to be under 5 kW hydro, so there's smaller scale hydro.
So like Christine Falls is one of them.
I don't know if that's one where they sell the credits for. They might have another arrangement where they're selling electricity to National Grid directly. So not all hydro facilities do this community hydro.
Nancy, would you be able to give us an idea between the benefits of hydro versus solar? No, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's well, and particularly when you're talking about community solar or community hydro, and subscribing to one or the other. The way the NYSERDA is promoting renewable energy, they're really promoting new renewable energy, right? Newly built renewable energy. There's no newly built hydro being built. So these legacy hydro projects, which we have a lot of in the North Country, they actually get paid very little money because they don't get all those incentives because they're not new, right? And so one way for these hydro operators to actually make their economics work is by selling it as community hydro. But they don't have enough profit margin to be able to give the subscribers a discount. So if you subscribe to community hydro, you'd be helping to support these small scale hydro, and that's a wonderful thing, you know. But you probably wouldn't see any discount on your bills. Okay. Whereas community solar, the economics work out better because of, like I said, they're new projects, and NYSERDA rewards new projects with, you know, with these incentives, and that they can offer these, you know, up to a 10% reduction in your bill. So most people tend to like the reduction in their bill.
Yep. And would you be able to give us any data on local towns, if there are any within the Adirondacks that have gone solar community, and what their change in bills are?
Sure. I don't know the change of bills, but the town of Harrietstown subscribed all their accounts, including the airport up here in Lake Clear, to community solar just last year sometime. I don't remember when. In another community, it might be right outside the Adirondack Blue Line, is town of Constable subscribed to community solar. I know Elizabethtown in Essex County, they subscribed. I don't know who else. I don't always hear about when they've all done it, but there's a few. I certainly could try to find out what what savings they're seeing on their bill.
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Yeah, Jim Rumsey.
Nancy, this is Jim. The community solar people, their campaign, would they be the type of people that would show up at a farmer's market, a craft fair, a beer and wine festival, and have a table to sign up community people?
I would think that they would. You know, I will say the couple of community solar campaigns, community campaigns that the communities I worked with were held during COVID, and so they didn't go in person. They did a lot more stuff like door hangers and mailers and all kinds of things, and presentations via Zoom. But I would, depending on where they're located, I would think that they would do that kind of work.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy.
Sure.
So, Nancy, I think we would be interested in looking into how we would do community solar.
Okay.
Looking at folks here and on Zoom. Cindy and Mark, any thoughts? All right, we're all up for saving.
Well, yeah, who isn't, right? Well, I will send you, Jeanette, a list of how to find a community solar provider, and also NYSERDA has a good recommendations on how to choose one. Because there are a number of them out there, and how you choose one to make sure you're getting the best savings, or you're getting a good good rent. So I'll send you that. I'll also talk to Harrietstown and see if they have any idea, if they can report on their savings, or one of the other communities if they can.
That'd be great.
And what else? And you already have the benchmarking policy if you want to do that, and the solar permit. We'll work on that. And
I'll contact you later this week, and we'll go through that benchmarking and make sure that we're up to speed on that.
Super.
To make sure it works for Speculator and still would be accepted by NYSERDA.
Perfect.
All right. Nancy, thank you.
And you're very welcome.
Comments or questions?
I just have
Yes,
one more. If
Rebecca.
you're community solar, does that mean you are 100% using solar electricity, or if you're in a place where you don't get enough sun, do they revert back, like a backup plan? How does that work?
Well, I think I heard you. The question is does subscribing to community solar mean you're using 100% solar electricity? Was that the question?
Right.
Okay. Well, this is where you kind of get into the weeds on things. If you want to claim that you're using 100% renewable electricity, then the village or a resident would actually have to buy your electricity supply as renewable energy. That's actually sounds like community solar, but it's not, because then you're actually purchasing the electricity from someone else. Just like you could, any homeowner could, instead of purchasing your electricity from National Grid, you can purchase it from Ambit or Green Mountain Energy or Constellation or Direct Energy, all these different ESCOs out there that sell you electricity. Not all of them sell them at 100% renewable energy, but some of them do. But community solar is a little bit different because that's more about credits. So if you wanted to make the claim that you were using 100% renewable energy, then you would have to purchase the electricity supply, and that involves the company or the ESCO purchasing RECs or renewable energy credits, and it gets a little complex. But by subscribing to community solar, you're supporting financially and supporting these small scale community solar arrays. The RECs or the renewable energy credits actually get used by National Grid because they need to show the New York State that they're promoting renewable energy, and they're, anyways, it gets more complicated. So, but if you want to make that claim, like some businesses want to make that claim, then you actually have to do another step. And
I think we're more concerned with making sure we have electricity.
Yeah, right.
So I think, as Nancy had described it, it's kind of like having solar panels on your roof. So when the sun shines, it builds it up, and your meter runs backwards. So those are the credits. And in the wintertime, when you don't have enough energy generated, then it runs forward. So does that mean that our bills would be lower in the summer, in theory, lower in the summer and higher in the winter?
Not necessarily. You might not have as much savings in the winter as you have in the summer. It really depends on the arrangement you make with the community solar provider.
Okay.
And you will, because several of your accounts are demand meter accounts, like I'm sure at the water and wastewater and probably your highway garage, then that you will have to, speak with you're different than a homeowner who doesn't have that.
Right.
You'll have to work that out with them.
All right, then that'll take us a little bit longer to do, but I think the benchmarking is pretty straightforward. And hosting a campaign would be straightforward.
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Nancy, thank you as always.
You're very welcome, and thanks for letting me attend virtually. I appreciate that. I'm sorry I couldn't turn my camera back on. I don't know what Zoom was doing.
All right.
I wish you all a very nice evening.
Thank you. Okay, where am I?
Jeanette, just so you know, my Wi-Fi is unstable. It's going in and out, just so I don't catch everything.
Okay, all right. Next up is the slate of elected officers from the department roster, which is very straightforward. The elected officers in the fire department. Why isn't it popping up? Okay. The current roster is Matt O'Brien, chief. First assistant chief is Ryan Marshall. Second assistant chief is Dylan Doniker. First captain is Kyle Darlington. Second captain, Eric Knowlton. Safety officer is Robert Peck. And then within their it's not an LLC, their incorporation, they have officers. And those officers, president is Kyle Darlington, vice president is Wade Hartman, secretary is Casey Morrison, and treasurers are Robert Peck and Oscar Avila. So may I have a motion to approve the current roster of Speculator Volunteer Fire Department rosters? So Rebecca and Jim, any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed say no. Any abstentions? Motion passes. Okay, next up, we invite Caitlin Eldridge to come and talk to us about the Bear and Wine Festival. So bring a chair here. Well, yeah, that's good. All righty. We've tried to do this a few times since the first one way back when.
And it feels like some days it's barely going to be 2030. We're doing it.
Good. So if you want to walk us through it, I guess I can start by saying way back when in 2018, the DEC had to euthanize quite a few bears in Speculator, more so than usual. And they were very active and very hungry back then. And so as a result of that, who is this? This is Jim Stickles from DEC. He had come and talked with different people about what we could do to raise awareness and, keep trash away from bears, not making it as excitable or enticing. So the first festival that was put together was to see if people were interested in coming for a bear and wine festival, a beer and wine festival, but to theme it with bears to see if we could also do some fundraising. People do fundraising on behalf of the village to raise monies for bear cans. And so we think that from the first meeting, and we were trying to go back and check, I think the event had raised some money for bear cans in the village. And then in addition to that, at the time, Supervisor Dan Wilt and I, on our own, not as members of a municipality, we did our own fundraising for bear cans and had raised some monies for that. So I would hope that tradition would continue.
We are still planning on having DEC there. We're not sure if we'll have them on the pavilion. That is something that we're trying to work out just space-wise. We don't really want to have a crowd and then have people out in their drink. We just think, especially for fire safety and safety in general, we really should try to keep everything as open as possible. And, just like not have kids sitting under the bear and everything. I think, personally, that's a better decision. So we are planning on putting them right outside here. So you can see for DEC, they'll be right outside where the bear and wine vendors are. You can see it's in red, I should say. You can see that. But so we do plan on still having all of that. And if you want to keep the bear part of it, it is just fun play, and it really does bring, the Adirondacks into play.
Okay, so I can go to your file, bear and wine. The one thing that I wanted to have us be aware of is their safety plan. So why can't I do this?
Jack, could you have Miss Eldridge speak a little louder?
Yeah, this is where the microphone is. All right.
So our safety measures for 2019, they're going to be pretty much the same for this year. The only thing different is that we plan to have more people since we expect it to be a little bit busier. Just because the first year we ran out of bags. I like tasting glasses a lot quicker. We didn't really expect to have the amount of attendance. I think we expected like 500 to 800 people. We're hoping maybe to like 1,000 to 1,500 would be hopefully our max. It could be up to 2,000, but you never really know, especially with the change of date. It could be a little bit better. It could be a little bit harder. We were trying to beat out in October of in Little Falls, there was like a cheese fest. So that was what was really taking a lot of our vendors for the past couple of years. We've been really losing out on vendors. We did change the date. We're hoping that maybe an August date would be a little bit better. We are doing pretty good so far getting vendors. We're getting a little bit more shopping vendors, so it's a little shopping heavy right now, but we have confirmed 5. So the first year was 14, so we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
We have a lot that are reaching out and asking us about it. I don't believe we'll have over 50, but again, it's hard to say, so people come last minute and things, so.
5015.
50, it's 50 like max of vendors.
Vendors. Just a vendor, which would be great.
Yeah, 1,500 for people coming, we would say.
So with that, as part of the municipal park use application, just want to draw your attention that for events in excess of 500 people, accommodations have to be made for additional toilet facilities. So you would have to ensure that there were some additional porta potties on site to be able to do that. Something that I wanted to raise to the board, during the summer, we usually have someone on DPW come over the weekend and make sure that trash is picked up to keep, bears away from our parks and the pavilion and things like that. In this situation, we would also have to have someone come in the evening. That would be a cost to the village, unless the chamber has volunteers that would bag it up. Or
we did pay for the permit fee for both of them. I'm not sure if that helps or covers anything.
For both? For which both?
For the Fire Talk Festival and for Bear and Wine. We did do $100 for
okay, so $100 would not go very far, but
yeah. I mean, typically we've never paid before. So.
Yes. No. So
we're trying.
Yes.
I just put $100 down now.
Yes.
You didn't do that.
So I think that will make a dent in what we usually do. That should cover some of the overage. So we would just ask that during the course of it, we would have someone there in the morning, and then we would have someone at the end of day, and then the following morning that anything related to trash would be, secured so that, we're not spending more time picking up.
We do have a pretty extensive volunteer list that we are working on.
Terrific.
So we have just a section for extra 5 people too, so we can have them all scheduled beginning and at the end.
Okay, terrific. So as we go through the safety and security measures, and I've tried to make it large down there. Whoops, is that large enough?
I do have some.
Oh, there you go. Okay. So as they did the last time, there is a designation between those who are verified as being over 21 and those being as designated drivers. So those who are serving as designated drivers do not sample alcohol. They can purchase, but they don't imbibe. And they're pretty vibrant so that you can see that. My one concern was checking IDs. If you had secured someone, and I know you're still in advance, but someone with
this firm actually, he's a New Jersey cop. I didn't know this.
I didn't know that either. Good. All right. I feel better about a police officer or some sort of law enforcement. I know Deb Jorgensen was also part of law enforcement.
We have reached out to quite a few at Hamilton County, but we couldn't secure anybody. But we did get Glenn.
Oh, great. So my concern was there were some pretty good fakes in my day, so I can only imagine that they're even better now. Okay, so that's fine. And I like the idea that Hamilton County Sheriff's Office has agreed to do foot patrols during that session, with or without a canine.
Yeah.
Although I like the dog myself. And of course, no open containers.
Yep, and we do have a plan to have like a table where people make purchases. If they would like, they can kind of put it back. So they're not carrying a bunch of bottles. We're encouraging people not drinking.
Good.
So we have 3 volunteers there just going to be waiting, just to kind of watch over everything.
Oh, very good. That's very good. Okay. What we would like, and I believe that we had asked for it the last time, that all of the confirmed vendors, I know you collect a copy of their licenses if at the end, before the festival, but when you're done collecting them, if you can provide the village with a copy for our records, just in case something happens, just to keep a record of that. And then I did get your COI insurance. That's great. They also have to hold the village harmless on that. So that has to be modified to include the same things that you're requiring the insurance from the alcohol vendors, that we are named as additionally insured for the 1 million and 2 million general aggregate.
All right, so I pulled the one that was from the McDonald's did, and it's the same exact thing. So I asked them to do the same thing.
Yeah, it should name us harmless.
So maybe they just didn't send the right copy. So that's what I was like. Okay, I know, because usually that's what I asked her for.
Yeah, we should be named as additionally insured for that. Terrific. And then then if I understand, all the vendors also have a general liability holding the village.
Yep, so we get two separate copies. We do one for us and one for you.
Perfect. So that's what we would do at the end of the day. Does anyone have any questions, comments for Caitlin? Any concerns? So for those of you on the board who may not have seen, there may be additional fencing between the ball field and the pavilion, that where that pathway goes, that would be an additional area that could be fenced off.
And it would be like that orange type of temporary barricade. We're thinking we'll probably be getting that from Get Baller, and something we'll be borrowing.
Okay.
That's only if we really go over that.
Okay, great. Mark, Cindy, any thoughts, comments?
No.
No.
The last one, I have no problem with it.
Okay, so we can take a vote to approve the application for the permit and agree to the safety plans and insurance and the caveats that we've talked about. Sound good?
So moved.
So Mark makes the motion, second?
I'll second.
Cindy, any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. So have a great festival.
Thank you. I'm
Good.
excited.
Very good. Thank you for being so patient. This is a long meeting.
No, it's honestly so interesting to hear.
Oh, come back.
Good luck, guys.
Thanks. Bye. Okay, so moving right along. Okay, so this is a resolution. Oh, thank you. So this is a resolution to oppose passage of Conservation Subdivision Design Bill A04608. What is that, you might ask? Let me call that up. Resolution. So this was brought forward. Let me share that. I'm having trouble with my screen, so Cindy is not the only one. Okay, so there's the resolution. Gotcha. Okay. So what this is the Adirondack Park Agency adopted a large subdivision permit application that incorporated many of the action items in the Conservation Subdivision Design Bill. So what this does is the implementation of the ADK Park Agency large subdivision permit is more protective of the environment than the Conservation Subdivision design allows for. So they're making something more conservative than what we have right now. So
They're making something more conservative.
yes. Yeah,
So
which
less progressive.
yes. Yeah, we've got a lot of that going on today. So these laws are seldom mandatory, and they're usually a tool to keep open space in urban areas, but now they want to apply it to the Adirondacks. So within the Adirondacks, there are more than 3.3 million acres of the 5.9 million acre park, so more than 50% that will never be developed or subdivided as we presently stand. So of the remaining 2.6 million acres of private land, existing developments, roads, lakes, rivers, streams, etc., most of these are not even suitable for development. So now you're going from 3.3 minus 2.6. So bill number A04608 has been introduced to the State Assembly, and this bill would require Adirondack Park residential subdivisions that meet specific lot size thresholds to comply with certain of the conservation subdivision design criteria, which are pretty restrictive. So the proposed legislation would amend the existing Adirondack Park Agency Act, which has been in effect for 50 years, before any major permit application processes are changed. a public hearing needs to be implemented so that property owners have an opportunity to understand and comment on how this proposed law will affect their property values. Right now, they don't have that as part of anything. They just want to pass it, and the rest of us are stuck. So the proposed legislation would eliminate the potential for development on certain lands, constituting a taking without compensation, when current law already protects and provides for regulation of these same lands by the Adirondack Park Agency. So this is another layer on top of the park agency, more restrictive. And the proposed legislation places additional burdens on property owners that are not necessary. Can people mute, please? So there would be additional burdens on property owners that are not necessary to protect the environment and ecological systems, and they're not beneficial to the well-being of Adirondack Park and its residents. So I would like to resolve that the Village Board of Trustees does not approve the proposed legislation, and be it further resolved that we as the board call upon our local governments to stand together individually through our associations, etc., to insist the conservation subdivision design bill be withdrawn, and that we contact the governor. We send this to the governor, the state majority, Senate majority, our local senators in the Adirondacks. Senator Walsick is ours right now. The Assembly Speaker, our Assemblyman Robert Smullen, the Adirondack Association of Towns and Villages, the Adirondack Local Government Review Board, and chairs of the Econ Committees, Senators Parkham and Assemblywoman Glick. So, any questions? Anyone would like to make a motion to pass the resolution? Jim and Rebecca, any comments or questions regarding this? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of passing this resolution to oppose the passage of Conservation Subdivision Design Bill A04608, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Let me go back. Okay. All right. So for board roundtable, we'll be pretty quick. I would like to raise the flag again after speaking with Rick Rumsey and my colleagues on fire, as well as the Speculator Volunteer Ambulance Corps. Building addresses are not well posted on buildings and homes within our community, making it extremely difficult and challenging to find people when they are in need. Under the New York State Building Code, there is a section 502 regarding addresses that new and existing buildings shall provide approved address identification. So what I have asked Rick is that as he goes on his daily adventures in code enforcement, that I would help write up a letter with him to give notice to people who do not have their buildings marked appropriately. These numbers and street names should be at least 4 inches high, no thinner than about a half an inch thick. It's got to be legible, and usually two-tone, so a darker tone with lighter lettering or lighter background with dark lettering, so that it sticks out. Does anybody have any comments with that?
Initially, they asked us to be reflective.
Yes, we do like reflective, but it doesn't, according to this, it doesn't have to be. But reflective is excellent. Trust me, in the dark without lights, it's very good. Yeah. So the next thing is the APA is reviewing a very lengthy document called the Adirondack State Park Land Master Plan's Wild Forest Basic Guideline number 4. Say that. So what this guideline number 4 states in this master plan in the Adirondack Park, it says, and this was written about 50 to 80 years ago, It says no material increase of road mileage on lands classified as wild forest, including a no material increase alternative to this proposal number 4. So the way things go right now is that there is a set number of miles throughout the Adirondacks of roads that are classified on lands classified as wild forest. For example, we all know Santanoni. The roads in Santanoni Park count towards the land, the number of miles that are allowed on wild lands. That's owned by New York State. In New York State, there are probably only about 200 miles, 210 miles. There's not very many at all. Because what's been happening is as New York State gets more land forever wild, they're shutting down the amount of roads, so there's no access to it. And some people live in these back of beyond places. They can't get there. The roads are not maintained. In addition, there's a road alternative that was put in place, and that was called CP3. And these CP3 mileages are within those caps, road caps. And those are for people with disabilities. So one of those CP3 caps is also the road into Santanoni, because that has to be maintained to provide access to people with disabilities. So the question is, should roads that are designated and required for disabilities, because New York State was sued and lost and has to provide it, they've started to add this mileage for the CP3 roads and taking it away from the overall number of miles for the wild forest, the wild land. So it gets a little crazy. Does anybody understand that? So the same thing was done for snowmobiles. And in 2019, I think, 2009, what they did is they revised it and said, okay, now we're going to do a percentage. We're going to maintain the percentage of road based on how much wild land there is. Or if you're going to take it away from this area, then you have to give us that amount in another area. So you're keeping a fixed amount of roads and it's not continually diminishing. So all that to say, we are in support, if you recall from July of 2022, we are in support of increasing the number of roads by 15%, and that it's tied to the percentage of land that New York State has acquired since 1972. So they've increased 15%. We would like the number of roads increased by 15%. And then that the proposal would not include any of the CP3 roads, that it should be available for everybody. So the draft comments that were provided back in July, well, now they're making formal comments to the public, and we've been asked if we would comment again and lend our support one way or another to the proposals. So the proposals are leave it alone, don't do anything, increase it by 15%, or decrease it by 15%, which I don't know why anyone would do that. So I would like to, on behalf of the village, to again support an increase of 15% to be in line with the increase in New York State lands and to exclude the CP3 roads. Sounds all right?
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. The very last thing that I have on the round table is another grant opportunity. So this grant opportunity is coming. So this is from the Citizens Institute of Rural Design. And what this group does is they provide the staff to facilitate local design workshops in rural communities to address a design challenge. So some of the challenges they mention are like redesigning a main street as a local street versus a state highway, or leveraging Main Street for economic development, such as branding, wayfinding, facade improvements, and streetscape. What's very interesting with this free stuff is that there's no monetary requirement on the part of the village. The only commitment is time in attending workshops and community tours, and $6,000 but that can be in our time for showing up. So it doesn't have to be cash. It can be like-minded. So if we had photographers that could take some pictures, we would charge them for that time. That would be equivalent to $6,000. And, you know, if there's a local artist or two who could contribute something, or any other sort of services that could be of value to do that. And then we could use that to update our comprehensive plan. So our comprehensive plan is the plan that talks about the village, what it looks like, how we brand it, how we want to see it develop and grow in the future, what those businesses look like, etc. The last time that was updated was in December 2007. And it was stated in there that ideally it would be updated every 5 years. So it hasn't been updated in 5 years. But what is important about that particular comprehensive plan is that we use that for grants when we apply to grants and stuff. So it is an important document and really should be updated because it has been a little while. Okay, so any comments, thoughts, questions? Should I have her go ahead and see if we can secure some people to come and help us out on rural design?
Sure.
Sure, good. And I think that we could probably coordinate with, you know, the Department of Tourism and the Chamber and, you know, see if we can really get that going. Okay, terrific. Any other comments for roundtable? Anything coming up? Anything exciting? Okay. So at this point, I don't think we need an executive session based on discussions for the union, but I'll ask Mark and Cindy. And
Right now, everything is, you know, just being negotiated, and we won't know anything until the next meeting in May.
Okay, and that next meeting is set the first week of May. Right. Okay. All right. So in lieu of that, I'll open it up for one last public comment. Okay. Hearing no public comments. Mark, would you like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
And I would like to agree. All right. Thank you very much. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Hmm.